Today, in this series of COVID-19, which is especially brought to you by News Karnataka, V4news, Global TV and Organ Donation India Foundation, we are going to discuss the impact of this coronavirus disease and the lockdown on hotels and restaurants, and what are the solutions in future. So today we have a very eminent guest with us. He is none other than Mr. Vikram Kamat, founder chairman of VITSKamats Group. This group holds more than 100 hotels and restaurants in India and abroad. Welcome, Mr. Kamat, on this special program. Thank you. Now, I would like to ask you, because as soon as the lockdown started, all the hotels and restaurants are under lock and key, and there is total business become zero. And in this present scenario, what you think, how the hotel, because I'm sure that even once the lockdown will be open, the least priority will be for the hotel and the sit-in restaurant. So how you are, because your restaurants are mainly on highways and even in the cities, as well as your hotels are in different cities in India and abroad. So how you think the business will be after once the lockdown will be open?
I think that the business will come on a gradual uptrend. As you rightly said, this industry is always a neglected industry. It's been a neglected industry so far, and it continues to be after the lockdown will open. Even though this industry is contributing, I'll just throw some statistics here. This business is contributing more than 9.2% of the entire Indian GDP, which of our nearly 2.75 trillion economy, that is more than 30 billion US dollars is coming from travel and tourism as a sector. And we are having more than 5 crore employees employed by this sector. So out of a population of 130 crore, more than 5 crore people. And the beauty of this industry is that it is not only very rich people or people who are very fancy in that sense. It is giving employment to people right from the grassroots level to the upper echelons of business. So I think it's a business which touches all strata. So we are very hopeful that things will continue to be in a very strong way, and that at the earliest the lockdown opens up so that this sector can once again give that kind of employment.
The lockdown will be open, say on 3rd May, but the social distancing has to be continued. So how you think the restaurants or hotels can keep or maintain the social distancing and can start functioning normally?
So some amount of social distancing, all restaurants are anyway planning to have much more wider space kept wherever possible amongst the tables, amongst the guests. The buffets may be discontinued for some time. In the kitchen, a lot more focus is being given on hygiene. Even the staff will be physically tested every time they enter. A lot more care will be taken on sterilization. All the staff will be wearing gloves and will be regularly using a lot of sanitizer. Hotels were anyways maintaining quite an elevated standard of hygiene, but definitely much more focus will be given on not just now hygiene, but also certain other safety which we were maybe not taking, like we were not checking everybody's temperature every day. So those kind of things definitely will be introduced on a much larger scale. People wearing masks will be fairly common for at least 3 to 6 months. From a social distancing perspective, we are in most of our restaurants, Kamats we were anyway using, but now including in the other premium restaurants also, we will switch for at least 3 to 4 months with disposable glasses, do away with all napkins and tablecloths, remove the placemats. So these are all the new standard operating procedures which we have already made and rolled out across our units, so that as and when the lockdown opens up, our team is already well trained and aware of these SOPs.
You enter in any hotel today, there is a security check of the vehicle, as well as in some hotels even the physical check of the guest. Do you think then now it will become a norm that the hotels will start checking the temperature of all the guests, so that only those guests whose temperatures are in the normal limits will be allowed, and those who are not can be returned.
Yes, definitely. I think many changes are there, and this is one of the regular changes which will be there. It may not be a permanent thing, but at least till a vaccine is found for the next 3, 6, maybe 9 months, 1 year, this will become a common affair where temperature will be checked of guests. If nothing else, more from a precaution perspective rather than more from, in fact, in our hotels, we have already employed and keeping a permanent medical officer who is there in most of our hotels now, who will be joining us once the lockdown opens up, who will be responsible for ensuring and carrying out all these practices. Also, if at all, we have even developed the procedure that if a guest is not feeling well and how his test has to be taken, who will go and administer the test, in terms of who will contact the government in the interim period when he is unwell, how the SOP has to be done, how his food will be kept outside the room. So all those procedures also have been done, and we are having a proper medical officer in each of the hotels who will be there at least 12 hours in a day, so that most of the things can be adhered to.
But tell me, today in USA, the hotels are still functioning, the Airbnb is working, people are going to the remote places with their own family and staying, because many times it happens that people feel claustrophobic staying in a 1 or 2 flat, and so they, in USA I'm talking, and they feel that they are going and they stays in a resort type of thing, or Airbnb, the bungalows and everything. But in other countries, many countries, they are not doing this. What you think, as per your personal views, whether government of India first start those hotels or resorts or or those villas which are situated remotely, which are not like a normal 5-star hotels with a number of rooms on a one floor like that, or shall we start at one go the entire hotel industry?
I think that these are matters of public safety, and I think when it comes to coronavirus, what has shocked and alarmed nearly all the countries of the world is the contagiousness, that how contagious this particular disease is being highly contagious, and the fact that it spread so fast. I think that's what has taken everybody by surprise. And I think the whole idea of this lockdown is to try and prevent the contamination or the contagion, which is continuously spreading, to reduce that, so that the load on healthcare is reduced. I don't think that the only real permanent solution is once you have a cure, because even when, or even if the lockdown opens, whenever it does open, even if one person is unwell, there's always a scope that it can spread very fast. So mass testing, having a idea on how to cure this, is the only way, because there are so many diseases in general, but we don't lock down because of that. But in those cases, we have a knowledge of how to cure those diseases. So I think here mass testing and cure is the actual long-term solution which is there.
Government has taken many hotel rooms for the doctors and the medical staff. They are staying even in Mumbai, like Taj hotels have given. In Delhi, the Lalit hotel has rooms have been taken by the government. So now tell me, what is the situation? Suppose tomorrow everything will be normal. What will be the conditions of those hotels? Because do you think there will be a fear in the mind of public whether they would like to go to those hotels where those medical health people or quarantine centers have been made?
Yes, there will be, and that's why our association also, the FHRAI and the regional body HRAIW, that is Hotel and Restaurant Association of Western India, has requested that even if hotels are taken either voluntarily or under the various Disaster Management Act or various other laws which are there, if certain hotels are taken for quarantine, to not publicize or to not unnecessarily utilize the name of the hotel, because once the lockdown opens up or when the hotel gets back into business, there may be a recurring thought, because any hotel is definitely going to sterilize itself, not just if it is in quarantine, but even if it's not used by quarantine, because as a safety, any hotel would like to sterilize itself to ensure that there is no risk posed to neither its staff nor obviously to any of its guests. And in such a situation, yes, unnecessary publicizing something may lead to a potential stigma which is better avoided.
What you have mentioned, Mr. Kamath, about all those SOPs and precautions which you or other all hotels are going to take post Corona. Now tell me, if the hotel industry will do all these more and more precautions, appointing a medical officer, taking the temperatures, etc., and keeping the social distancing, discontinuing the buffet, etc., don't you think it will be having a extra burden on the hotel or the restaurant?
Oh,
And
definitely.
if yes, then how you are planning to recover that amount?
So I think the first part that everybody is looking at is considering the issues we are facing. It is more about just getting back to business. I think after this becomes the new normal, then maybe after a month or so, we'll be looking at how to pass on these costs, or what is the exact nature of these costs. Definitely giving all the staff a mask, giving the keeping a medical officer, all these additional costs will be quite high in nature, because these costs are of these items are also high. Using sterilim, or using any kind of sterilization, sterilizer, this, that, it obviously will be an additional cost which has to be factored in, and I think that hotels will then factor it into their pricing. Today, the whole idea is how to give the confidence, how to give a comfort to the guest, so that they can come and enjoy. Because definitely, man and human being is a social animal. Even today in the lockdown, everybody is posting pictures of food, posting pictures of when they were allowed to go out, how nice it was to go out. So I think people want to go out, people would like to spend time with people want to socialize. If you see the kind of way that people are just yearning to go back out, I think people are waiting. But yes, they want to be cautious and they don't want to fall sick in trying to do something good.
The guest will also be having the same problems, because after all their businesses or their the employment all are right now, it's all closed. So it's not that easy for them to pay a higher cost. Or do you think that for want of going out and to enjoy and to relax after this the worst period which they have faced in their lifetime, they won't mind to pay more even if they are not in a good financial condition?
I think that their primary, or even the industry's primary perspective, will not be to burden the guest, but at the same time to make sure that they are not overburdened themselves, because this industry is already very, very burdened with a lot of costs, with a lot of stress in the system. The fact that we are a very, very manpower intensive business means that during the lockdown we've had the maximum problem, because we have to still pay our staff, keep them on rolls. We know that once the lockdown comes out, we will need all of our people. So it's a very fine balance, and I don't think that the customer will be in a position to pay very high increased rates, but the industry will work out a way of how to come out with a viable solution, maybe a month and a half after this becomes the new normal.
Like if we compare this with USA and UK, in USA there was a $2.3 trillion package, and in which the fixed amount to the unemployed people. In UK, the government is giving 80% of the salary, and the 20% the salary the owner of that establishment has to bear. Now in India, I don't think that any industry package have come till now. Now in this condition, because even now it's almost 40 days lockdown period, and it can, I don't know what will be the situation, but suppose even if it remains 40 days, this 40 days zero business with all the overhead expenses, because I am sure that all the rooms which are being housekeeping has to be continued whether they are occupied or not, to keep them intact. How you think it is going to be a cost effective, and or you have any suggestions to the government, what government should do so that at least that much burden what is going to be faced by this particular industry will not be passed to the customer in a big way?
So to answer your first question, that has any such package been announced? No package has been announced. We are hopeful. From time to time the government has told, and various media indications have come whereby a bigger, larger, better financial package is going to come out. I believe the one which was announced earlier was of course very minor, and maybe was not having all the details, and maybe they were working on it much more, because the initial package that was announced was uh, uh, had some aspects covered, but from the larger aspect of manpower, salaries, these were not really addressed. Even the notification on Provident Fund came out on the last day. So I think the government must be working hard. We are very hopeful that the future package will be good. And as far as what the government should do, I think the industry has a lot of requirements that can be very helpful. First thing one should realize is that helping this industry means helping the employment of the country. And by any steps taken to help push this industry, it is going to help all the employees of the that are taken care of by. And in such a scenario, for the next 1 year, I think what the whole government will be working on is how to keep the people engaged, how to keep all the businesses running, so that everybody is busy. Because if everybody is busy, then obviously there will be a positive outlook to the future also. So in such a scenario, there should be a great move to try and to ensure that the GST is waived for the next at least 9 months to a year. All the advanced taxes, the statutory compliances, they should be waived for some time. Statutory compliances meaning compliances such as, for example, excise license. In the state of Maharashtra, they have gone ahead and increased the excise licenses 15%. And excise is anyway annual license which has to be paid every March 31st. So in such a scenario, these kind of things, or property taxes for that matter, if these kind of things can be waived, as being a very heavy real estate and a very intense manpower based industry, Provident Fund, advanced taxes, if these can be waived for some time, then it will allow the businesses to preserve the cash flow which can be given as salaries to the team members to make sure that they are still employed. There is one figure going around the industry, depending on the lockdown, there may be a cut down of workforce up to as high as 70%. So of 5 crore employees, that too primarily in the organized sector itself, unorganized sector figures are limited, but 5 crore employees, 70% is a very big hit, not only to the industry but to the country as a whole. So in such a scenario, care should be taken by the government. Also, there should be no increase in insurance premium, because again hotels employ a lot of team members and their insurance is paramount. There's a lot of risk for them while working with the hotel, because a patient, the particular guest could have and he may not even know. So in such scenario, if GST waiver, insurance waiver, electricity duty, entertainment tax benefits and GST deferment, if these things are immediately done, I think it can help in a big way.
Sure that the government will definitely consider some of your suggestions. Now, one thing is very clear, that in this 40 days lockdown period, everyone is only thinking and talking about coronavirus, about nothing else, only coronavirus. Now, as you know, you are also a management guru, and you know you are running business so successfully that the brand which everyone has built up in so many years is going to be lost because of this 40 days washout. Now, to build up the brand again of a hotel or a restaurant is not an easy task. Do you think at that time the barter, the oldest form of transaction, will play a very big role in this? What is your opinion about that?
I personally think barter is an excellent source. Even before this crisis, barter was always a very good option. And I think post this crisis, all the more importance of barter will come to the forefront, because whenever, even during the days of 2001 or during the the financial crisis of 2008, or so many times in between, or generally in business cycle of up and down, or sometimes when you just want to do a particular activity and you have less cash flow, which is all the time practically in business, barter has always been something which we have been using in the past. And I think the entire industry or the government should also recognize it as a powerful force, because production is on but cash flow or liquidity is less. In such a scenario, barter can really come to the help of any business. So I think a lot of hoteliers, a lot of businesses in general, if they can use barter, they can reduce their cash requirement and keep their production and factory running. Where without cash flow also, by limiting their cash, by reducing the cash burden, they can ensure that liquidity doesn't become a problem.
So today we have seen that a hotelier and a restaurant fellow who's having a chain of restaurants and hotel in India and abroad has given his frank opinions how they are planning to come up after the lockdown period will be over, and what types of SOPs they are going to follow, and what are their suggestions to the government of India so that they will not face problem, even the employees will not face problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Vikram Kamat, to be with us today and giving your opinion. Thank you very much.